WandaVision. When it was released years ago, we all loved it. And why wouldn't we? It was a great show.
Well, I assure you, I'm married to a man, a human one and tall.
Episode 5 of Agatha All Along is here, and I bring WandaVision up because this episode, Darkest Hour, Wake Thy Power, kinda sorta opens with a sequence from WandaVision. Agatha's trial where she was sentenced to death by her own mother.
Mother! Please! Please! Mother!
Mors, monstro, natural.
Ever since I saw that scene years ago, I always felt like there was something more there. Here was Agatha Harkness, WandaVision's flamboyant diva villain, and here's this scene, a glimpse into her origin. And it's not totally portraying her as a completely evil person. I mean, yeah, she kills everyone, including her own mother. Sure, but hear me out. There was something that felt vulnerable to me about the scene. The way she pleaded with her Coven sisters.
No, I cannot control it. Only you would teach me. Help me.
The way she screamed in pain as they blasted her.
Mors, monstro, natural.
The way she begged her own mother not to kill her.
Mors, please. I can be good.
No, you cannot.
The way WandaVision constructed that scene weirdly made me feel sympathetic for Agatha, even though she was the antagonist there. You could say she was acting in this scene, that she was faking it to try and get mercy, but it never felt completely that way to me. There was something there that felt sincere, that she really wanted her Coven and her mother to believe her and help her. And well, they didn't believe her or help her, so they turned into raisins. But years later, here we are. Once again, episode 5 of Agatha All Along. We have so many things to talk about. I loved this episode. I have a bit of an issue with its length, but this episode was full. Like, it was a full meal. Of course, this video is a discussion and a review, so please be warned, there will be spoilers.
Her worst nightmares.
We have a lot more on Agatha this episode. We also have a tiny bit more on her relationship with Rio. We also have another death, which, what the heck? And what am I forgetting? Oh, we also had Teen's identity reveal. We'll talk about all of that, but before we do, and more importantly, for this episode, we also have Patti LuPone in a new wig! What the heck is going on with this pussycat wig? Patti! I was going to say that this is my least favorite wig that they've ever put her in because it kind of feels like the worst. It definitely fits in with the vibe that they were going for, but I actually am starting to think that this is my favorite Patti wig, just for the sheer audacity. Miss LuPone? Miss LuPone? Anyway, let's get into it. The episode once again begins on the road, and I love that. Even after 3 episodes beginning on the road, it makes the journey feel actually long. We've seen these witches walk and camp out and now sleep here. It makes the Witches' Road feel like an actual lengthy trail to walk down on. The Salem 7 have caught up to Agatha, and it's Lilia who senses them.
They're coming. We have to go.
If you've been watching my Agatha videos, which, by the way, thank you, then you know that Lilia Calderu is my favorite of the bunch. So, of course, I love that she gets a moment.
Tell them.
The Salem 7.
I mean, it's Patti LuPone. All she needs to do for me is stand and walk and stare at the wall, and I'm like, come on, hand her the Emmy. Just hand her the Emmy. We finally get one of my favorite scenes from the trailer in this episode, where the witches fly up on their brooms against a big red moon. I love this shot so much, you guys. It's so witchy. I know that's probably like the laziest adjective I could think of to describe it, but it is that. Not to mention the spell that they have to cast to get the brooms to fly. It's a spell that requires partnership and cooperation, and damn, I love that. I always love my found families in fiction, you guys, and I especially adored how flying in brooms seemed to genuinely make our Coven happy. Like they actually enjoyed the feeling of flying together. Flying as a Coven. But there's something that happens to this found family, this Coven, later on in the episode that weirded me out and also kind of broke my heart. We'll get into that in a bit. The Salem 7 again are really cool and creepy. They chase the Coven down to the next trial, which brings us finally to Agatha's trial. And of course, this is the part where I talk about Agatha herself. You guys, this episode was so good for the development of Agatha's character. When this whole show started, Agatha was just the fun villain from WandaVision who got imprisoned in a silly identity spell. Oh, and she had a very fun song. That's who Agatha Harkness was in the MCU. Agatha All Along then started and turned Agatha Harkness in the MCU into a woman determined to regain all the power she had lost.
I want my
made her into a mother still hurting from the loss of her son, made her into someone who has it in her to lead a coven.
Who's good on piano? Lilia?
I play guitar, sort of.
Okay, great. Jen, you're on bass.
I'm still in the circle.
Jen!
Made her into a very interesting lover for another very interesting character. And now with this episode, the show has made her into a daughter still hurting from the trauma of having a loveless mother.
Why do you hate me still?
You were born evil.
Oh! The show is just adding more and more layers into Agatha, and they all add up, and they all make sense, and they all just make her more of a compelling and dynamic lead character. That last one I mentioned, specifically, Agatha's relationship with her mother, is so interesting to me. In this episode, we got to see Agatha as a daughter, evidently a very traumatized one.
Please take me with you. Don't. Let
Can't
me
leave her.
Please. Don't go. Take me with you, please. Don't leave me with her. I can be good.
And as someone who has a complicated relationship with his mother, this one hit terribly close to home. I know as a son, I will never truly understand the gigantically complex tangle of wires that is the relationship between moms and daughters, but I can relate for a tiny bit, just for a tiny bit, because we're all human and we all have parents, and most of us have complicated relationships with them. I do not at all intend to take away from what Agatha's relationship with her mom means to actual daughters who have complicated relationships with their moms. I'm just trying to connect with empathy, you know, in a human way. Because I mean, it's also especially true that for a lot of queer people, the complicated relationships with parents is like a given part of our lives. I mean, it's become a meme at this point, but you know, there's a reason why RuPaul saying as queer people we get to choose our own families is a thing.
You know, we as gay people, we get to choose our family. You know, we get to choose the people that we're around. You know what I'm saying?
This is a bit sad, but I'm sure there are millions of kids right now in the world being disowned and called evil by their parents simply for being, you know, theatrical.
You were born evil.
And yeah, sure, Agatha being queer is probably definitely not why her mother hates her so much, but their relationship makes Agatha a bit more relatable and even more vulnerable and sympathetic. And as audiences, we like that. Anyway, Evanora Harkness, you ain't shit. You ain't shit. I hate you. I hope all of your food is unseasoned. I hope you get hit by a car. This is not hate for the actress playing Evanora. She's great on the show. I hate the character, not the actress. I need to clarify that. Obviously, we don't know the full story between Agatha and her mom, but from what we've seen so far, it just looks like Evanora Harkness has such a disdain for her daughter. Is Evanora even her name? Wait a minute. Let me Google. I think I know that Evanora Harkness is her name, but now I'm not sure. Okay, yeah, okay. Let's recap all of Evanora Harkness's appearance so far. First in WandaVision, where she led Agatha's execution. I'm sorry.
Please. I can be good.
No, you cannot.
Ma'am, that's your daughter. And now here, where she comes back from the dead as a vengeful ghost to haunt her child.
You must finish the witch's road without Agatha.
That's a professional hater. That is holding on to hatred the way only a toxic parent can. This diva! To me, what's even more heartbreaking about this scene is how seemingly Agatha is willing to try and maybe not resolve, but at least do some work to get a better understanding of their relationship.
Why do you hate me still?
And yet all Evanora does is shut her down with hate.
You were born evil.
It's an interesting contrast, too, because here we have Agatha, a mother still haunted by the loss of her child. And here we have Evanora, a mother still haunted by having her child. That is funny, and it's good writing. I just remember, too, that last episode we had Lorna Wu, a mother who literally cast a spell so good it protected her daughter even after her own death. So, Evanora, go home. The show is about witchcraft, and motherhood is a large part of that mythology. The trinity of the maiden mother crone literally has mother in it, so. And I've been rewatching Avatar: The Last Airbender lately, and watching the scene with Evanora and Agatha reminded me of Azula. For those of you who haven't seen it yet, Azula is an antagonist in the show, and she's iconic, a diva, everything. But even though she's a bad guy, the show still does work to portray how unloved by her mother she felt.
My own mother thought I was a monster. She was right, of course, but it still hurt.
And it gave us a bit of a look into how her own mother's perception of her affected her.
What are you doing here?
I didn't want to miss my own daughter's coronation.
Don't pretend to act proud. I know what you really think of me. You think I'm a monster.
I think...
Well, what choice do I have? Trust is for fools. Fear is the only reliable way. Even you fear me.
No. I love you, Azula. I do.
And of course, blaming terrible parents for villains becoming villains is a classic media trope, a tale as old as time. But what always gets me about it is when the child is very clearly just a child wanting to be loved by a parent. It just makes it all the more heartbreaking. Anyway, I loved all of this. I hope we get to see more, though. As I said, we haven't seen the full story. I want to know more. And that brings us to Agatha being evil. This isn't me defending Agatha or anything. Whether or not she's a good or bad person, I couldn't care less because she's already interesting enough. I don't need my characters to be morally good, I just need them to be interesting. But I want to discuss this. In what was meant to be her execution, she was accused of stealing magic above her age and her station and for practicing the darkest of magic.
Yet you have betrayed your coven.
I have not.
You stole knowledge above your age and station. You practiced the darkest of magic.
I don't know about you, but to me that doesn't seem that bad. Stealing magic above her age and station, so she was ambitious. Can a girl have hobbies? Practicing the darkest of magic too. I mean, hey, the Ancient One was using dark forbidden magic and she's not evil. So yeah, I don't think it's that bad. Then of course there is the issue of Agatha killing her coven.
When Agatha killed her original coven
By stealing their power.
Now this to me is kind of complicated, but not very, because, well, yes, while she did kill her coven, it doesn't really seem like she intended to do this. In fact, she's warning them that her ability to take magic away and kill people is something she can't control.
No, I cannot control it. Only you would teach me.
And it's something she wishes to be taught how to control. Here's what I think, and we're going into like theory territory, so grain of salt. I think Agatha is a special kind of witch, a witch with the ability to absorb the powers and kill other magical people if they blast her. I think Agatha was probably born with this ability, and it's something she can't control. I also think that the Coven, upon learning that Agatha has this ability, immediately tagged her as evil. I don't know, maybe there were other witches and wizards in the past with this ability, and maybe they were evil, so now everyone who can do this is automatically evil in the eyes of the magical community. Prejudice, you know? Oh, you were born with these kind of powers, we gotta kill you because you're evil. If that's the case, I think the Coven's incredibly cruel for immediately condemning Agatha for being born as something out of her control. This is genuinely sad to me. Maybe Agatha's been told her whole life that a witch with an ability like hers would be nothing but evil, that she would be nothing but evil, which is why she's always saying,
I can be good.
I can be good, please.
But again, I don't know, that's just a theory. We'll see. We don't even know if Agatha can or cannot fully control this power. She says she can't control it, and right now, I do kind of believe her. But hey, who knows, she could be faking it, and that's one of the things that I really love about this show, and this character. We also got more Agatha Rio this episode, with that longing stare during the broom ride. Oh, love. And just how they played off of each other this episode.
Sweetheart, you okay?
Before we continue, I just want to say thank you to you guys who are watching my weekly Agatha reviews. It's definitely motivating me to keep making them, knowing that there are people who are enjoying them. So thank you. And if you're enjoying this video, please leave a like or a comment or maybe even subscribe. It is true that I am a really small channel and that would help out a lot. Thank you. Let's continue. Rio and Agatha have tension between the two of them, but they clearly have a lot of love too with how fiercely and how quickly Rio defends Agatha against her toxic parent.
Leave her with me.
No! No way! A minute ago, you were ready to slit her throat.
Yeah, well, her mother can't have her.
I love that. That is so dear to me. Also, while we're here and talking about Rio, I talked about how we all think that she's actually Death in my last video, and that still stands. When the Ouija board started moving and the ghost introduces themselves as Death, she just laughs because she knows it's a bluff.
Death.
Like, I'm Death. What do you mean you're Death, bitch?
That is a ghost. I hate ghosts.
She also has a dislike for ghosts. Of course, as Death, she would dislike spirits who refuse to accept their fate, who cling on to a half-life because of unfinished business. And when Alice dies, she disappears from the episode, presumably to take care of Alice's spirit. Aubrey Plaza, Death, lovely. And that brings us to Alice. Alice. Agatha kills Alice by accident, allegedly. and it's horrifying. I don't adore Alice as much as I adored Mrs. Hart, but I really liked her. I especially loved her closeness with Teen. They seemed to really bond, and I also loved how seriously she took her job as a protection witch. Anytime someone was in trouble, she was there rushing to help. She always did her best to protect her coven. This time, unfortunately, it led to her death. It's so cruel too that she was depressed and thought she was a failure her whole life. Then she realized she was being loved and protected by her mother even after death. And she went on to break the generational curse that had been haunting her family, only for her to die. That's messed up. That's heartbreaking. Alice, you deserved better. Although one thing I have to say, I was under the impression from the first episode that Alice, along with Lilia and Jen, were witches who weren't really capable of the magic blasts that Agatha and Wanda could do. These blasts. Because remember, Agatha and Wanda are literally legends in terms of power scaling, and Lilia, Jen, and Alice are more on the normal, average side of, like, witch magic. I thought they couldn't do the blasts, because after the Witch's Road summoning song, we saw them starting to build the power to make the blasts.
What? Disappointment! I'd say you should burn like the rest of them, but that would be a waste of kindling. Enough!
I thought they could only do that because of Agatha's taunting, and because them being in close proximity to each other gave them access to more magic. And with this episode, I still think that's true. It seemed to me that Alice was shocked that she actually had magic streaming out of her hands. Like, she herself couldn't believe it. And if that's true, if I'm right, it makes this even more messed up, because now she's only unleashing her true potential as a witch, and she dies? What the heck? I guess the internet was right. In my last video, there was this. In episode 3, Lilia says,
Try to save Agatha.
and in this episode, Lilia says,
Alice, don't.
so someone on the internet was like, what if these phrases are connected? And it's actually,
Alice. Alice, don't. Try to save Agatha.
Alice is the protection witch after all. What if Alice tries to save Agatha and it ends in disaster? I don't know. And now we know what that was for. One thing I will now be complaining about, though, is the length of these fuck-ass episodes. I'm sorry, the length of these episodes. This episode was almost 30 minutes in length, and only 25 of those minutes were the actual episode, the rest were credits. This episode had so many things happen. I think it is technically the most full episode in terms of lore and development, but they all could have used some extra time to fully land and breathe, you know? 25 minutes. Alice's death, for example, I felt could have used more screen time. This has been a problem of mine since WandaVision, because I don't hate it when movies or shows are short. I love my 90-minute type movies. Again, I love Avatar: The Last Airbender too. They're only 20-minute episodes. And yet, instead of feeling short, good 90-minute movies and episodes of Avatar, they feel well-paced and tightly written. They don't feel short. They feel tightly written. This episode, this 25-minute episode, didn't feel tightly written. It felt too quick and lacking in some breathing space. But it was still fun, but this review wouldn't be a review if I didn't bring that up, so. One other thing that I felt was too quick and too abrupt is, and actually, notably, the Coven turning on Agatha.
Yep. It's how we pass the trial. And after everything she's done,
We could tie her up.
You're not serious.
humiliation would work too.
I mean, or we could just slit her throat.
How quick they were to abandon her so they could continue their quest. What the heck?
We have to go.
Jeff, no, no. There's no flood here, there's no fire. The only danger to us in this trial is Agatha Harkness.
Well, yeah, if you really think about it, I guess it makes sense. We have no idea just how deep the feud between Jen and Agatha runs, and we do know that Agatha is notorious and known as an untrustworthy witch and that she killed her coven, but it just felt too abrupt and too weird. Maybe it's on purpose. I'm hoping it's on purpose because maybe there's a twist that we're yet to see. I think I can trust the show enough to think that that's possible and to believe that, but also, based on my experience with past Marvel shows, or, you know, a lot of past Marvel shows, sometimes they really do just do things abruptly and it makes the whole show feel dissonant and weird. And I'm scared. I am really scared that that might have been the case here, that that is what happened. I hope not. I can trust the show enough to think and believe that there might still be a twist. Because we've spent the last couple episodes building the bond of the Coven, making them work with each other and become what feels like an actual found family. It'd be okay. It'd be a very interesting story choice for the Coven to eventually fall apart. As the witches fall into to their worst traits narratively. If they start fighting and they break apart, that would be great. But I just wish that would happen in a way that's executed well and not feel this rushed. Anyway, that brings us to the reveal of the episode, Teen.
Hey, what are you... Stop! Wait! Stop! Why are you... What is... Teen, stop!
They haven't officially called him Billy Maximoff yet, but they did reveal him with blue magic, and they showed him in his crown as a song by Billie Eilish played. So yeah, Wiccan. Listen, for a lot of us, it was obvious, but I don't really care. To me, it's more about the journey. I was so gagged by this reveal because it just made me even more curious, especially with how it all went down. Did he know who he was all along? If so, why was he pretending he didn't know any magic? He's powerful enough to break the Scarlet Witch's identity spell and mind control 2 witches. What is going on? I need the next episode now. I guess it's not a coincidence how he was always the one finding the clues and starting the tests.
It's huge, tiny lies everywhere. Check this out.
We have to Ouija.
And Agatha, what does she mean by this line?
That's what it means to be a witch? Killing people to serve your own agenda? No. Not for me.
Are you sure?
And this line.
Come, pet.
Last episode, she was still thinking of Teen as a son figure and they were getting close. Now he's pet again? I think Agatha had doubts and suspicions and maybe at one point thought he actually was Nicholas Scratch, but since Nicholas made an appearance through the Ouija board this episode, she probably dismissed her own theory that Teen is her son. I don't know. See, now I'm thirsty for answers. The show is so good. I didn't like a lot of the mystery aspects in WandaVision, but so far the mysteries in the show have been really interesting. They've been engaging and they've been quite satisfying, so I'm just like, ooh, let's go. And the acting. We have to talk about the acting because Kathryn Hahn deserves the Emmy. This scene, this shift, it's disgustingly good. Just an episode ago, we were in a campfire sharing Scar stories, and now Alice is dead, the Coven abandoned Agatha, everyone got sucked into the quicksand, and Teen is apparently a powerful magic user who just downed everybody. It's insane, I love it. On top of all that, I cannot wait to see Patti LuPone's wig next episode. What do they have in store? Love this episode, I wish it was longer. What about you? How did you feel about this episode? Please tell me in the comments below, I would like to know. Thank you for watching this video, that is it, I'm out. By the way, if you're still watching at this point, I just want to say I have signed a contract to grow out my facial hair for a play. The character needs to have facial hair, and I know it looks ridiculous on me. I don't like it. I need you to know that it's not my creative choice, but I have to do it. I'm sorry. I'm gonna look so silly with facial hair on, but, well, we gotta do what we gotta do. Thank you. I'm out.